booties for black girl nerds.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Happy to be here. Besides, my people, my people.
Exactly.
Thank you. Nerds Unite. Well, listen, number one on the call sheet, this documentary is needed. I'm so glad that you guys have crafted and created and cultivated this space for us to have these conversations around this series or this film rather, because I think it's very relevant to what is happening now in the zeitgeist. To be able to focus on these incredible Black creatives who have created this legacy of films and TV shows for so many years. And I'm just really grateful and thankful for this project. So I just wanted to give you your flowers really quick before we jump into this interview.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Shala, I'm going to start with you. I really loved, first of all, I like the fact that we focus on the men of Hollywood and the women. And with respect to the women, there's a great conversation around the Oscars. And the Oscars recently just passed. And it's just criminal that we've only had one Black woman win in the Best Actress category. And that's talked about in this film. What led you to want to bring up the Oscars conversation? And were there any topics or subjects within those conversations that particularly surprised you?
Ooh. Well, I always approach things from a kind of historical perspective. So it was important to set the foundation and to have a context for understanding where these women are in their careers and what they may perceive. And the Oscars, first of all, and it's a film about Hollywood films. So the Oscars is an example of the pinnacle of that, right? It's two things. How much money do you make? Big box office, and how many awards do you have? And that is something that the women, they make great money compared to me as a doctor. But in the in the ecosystem of Hollywood, pay equity is a thing. And so
Yes.
they are navigating two things: their love of the craft and the work. You can see them in their purpose through their work, but the way they talk about it in the film. But then also the business and navigating the business. And I don't want to give it all away, but it's complicated and layered, and it was really hard a story to tell, but we figured it out, and it had to be important. It was an important part of the story for sure.
And it was, and I can't wait for other people to be able to experience what I experienced watching this very important film, which I feel like should be played in like schools and in educational institutions everywhere. Reggie, for you, number one on the call sheet, it highlights the evolving landscape of Black actors in Hollywood. How do you think today's industry compares to past decades in terms of opportunity and representation?
I have to I have to quote the great Morgan Freeman when we asked him that question. He goes, "Best time ever." And it is. Without a doubt, there is more opportunity, a greater range of roles, uh, a bigger global acceptance uh, on every standard of measurement. This is the best time ever to be a Black actor in Hollywood. There's no question about it. Acknowledging that reality doesn't mean that there still isn't work to be done, right? But to do the work, you have to have fair standards of measurement, right? You can't be so addicted to complaints and whining that you won't acknowledge the fact that things have gotten better. Because if you're always going to be mad, then you're like, well, who
Talk
cares?
about it.
You're never going to be happy. What? So you got to go, hey, this was great. That worked. Oh my God, what an improvement. Thank the allies who have made things better study the historical changes that change things and figure out how can we keep accelerating the improvements.
Right. I love that because
Yeah.
sometimes we complain about we don't get a chance to sit at the table, but it's like we got to create our own spaces. And I love seeing what folks like Tyler Perry is doing with creating your own studio and having your own spaces where, we don't focus on the folks that are actually doing those things and instead of focusing on the other folks that are in these mainstream spaces and
Well,
thinking that they're
and
not
here's the thing.
there.
Sometimes we're in both, because it's not an either or. I mean, I love Tyler's incredible entrepreneurship and his independence. That's fantastic. But I've been at the table where things have happened. I know other people who have been at the table where things happen. And I'm really glad. And like when you're there and you go, oh my God, thank God I'm here. I can make a difference. And you make a difference and things improve, right? I
Yeah.
mean, when I was producing the Oscars, and of course, the year that I produced the Oscars was Sherbourne Isis, a black woman running the Academy. Chris Rock is the host. It's the blackest Oscars ever, except it was Oscars so white. So you go, oh, what are we gonna do? And I put together a meeting at the Academy and with the board of directors, and we talked about it. And I said, look, we can't do anything about this year, but we have to make sure that we take away any unfairness in the process so this never happens again. And we truly honor the best people in our creative community. And we all worked together and we made a lot of great changes. And all of a sudden, you had, all these super talented black folk winning Oscars. And no one looked at them and said, oh, that's a DEI Oscar. You go, yeah, Sam Jackson, about time. What's the problem? Oh, Regina King. Everybody loves Regina King. So you fix it.
You do. Shola, did I step on you? You were going to say something. I felt like I stepped on you when you were about to say.
Oh, we, it might come back to me.
Okay. And do you feel like it's systemic? I mean, I feel like too sometimes it's a systemic thing when it comes to representation, when it comes to awards, when it comes to even being number one on the call sheet. Is it a systemic thing where there's just not enough of us in those positions of power that's making those
Exactly.
decisions?
I think there's not enough of us anywhere, right? Like, because we need people writing great scripts. We need the opportunity to audition for roles that aren't, like I love the Whoopi Goldberg story where her entree into Hollywood was to find scripts that were already greenlit that all of these white actors had passed on and she would take them, right? Like, but wouldn't it be better if we had stories written for us? Right? And so we
Right.
need screenwriters, we need lawyers, we need business executives, we need publicists. We need to be in those spaces because it makes a difference, right? We need makeup artists. We need people who know how to do our hair. And those people are always aware. I mean, you can't be a black person in this country without a sense of double consciousness. And so when you have somebody who can do black hair and can do black makeup, they can also do everybody else's hair and makeup, right? Like we come flexible because we're trying to create opportunities. I do want to pick up. I remember, that this is a story about finding your road to excellence, and that is definitely applicable across the board, right? And to do it with, you're gonna have low moments, you're gonna feel that, all of that, but without bitterness. I mean, I think Alfre Woodard says that, and I think that's, the example that many of the men, like Kevin Hart, give in the men's film, because that only hurts you. It and the most important thing is the perseverance when you're in your purpose to stay there, so that you can keep creating because you don't know when it's going to happen. And there will be a moment of payoff. And if you believe that, then you will achieve it. And I don't think we hear that kind of storytelling in our community enough. There's plenty of excellence. We just don't talk about it. We don't, there's no outlet for it. You know, that's considered boring news. And I'll just one more thing because this is my line. This is my line. I have to do it in every one of the interviews because it translates. Stop, Reggie. Stop. Don't make that face. It translates into every field because as Black women, who does not want to be number one on her own call sheet, right? That's it.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I'll build on that one more point, which is that when we hear stories about athletes, right, who go through, years of training and it's tough and then you fail and you get back up, we go, yeah, that's exactly what athletes are supposed to do. But we think that acting, the creative thing, you just go, well, you're just gifted, right? You go, no, 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 no. Yes, there's a gift here, but, you got to put the work in no matter what. You still got to do your 10,000 hours. And, and particularly when it comes to comedy, because everyone thinks, well, that's like my boy Pookie in 5th grade. He was hilarious. And it's like, let me tell you something. There's levels to this. There's levels. And, when you work in this business and you see people at the top of the game and you see what they do to get there and stay there, you respect the craft as much as we respect athletics.
I mean, seeing Octavia Spencer, she's a perfect example. She has been like number 15 on the call sheet for years, the nurse, and seeing how she's just steady, and then has worked her way up, and now she's number one. She's been leading, and now she's an Oscar winner. So
I can
thank
tell
you.
you, I was
Oh,
directing shows for Stephen Bochco, right, the legendary television producer. And Steve would say, "Oh, you're so lucky today. You get to work with Octavia Spencer. She's the best. She's just the best." Right. And they just loved her. And they're like, she can do anything. She's so good. And of course, she was great. And on those shows, I worked with Octavia Spencer, Viola Davis, Gabrielle Union. I mean, world-class, actresses. And I mean, I remember directing an episode where Viola Davis was a nurse at an inner city hospital and she got raped, right? And she finished her shift, right? So I'm coming and I'm like, so we're doing the scene and I'm like, okay, let's go to the next scene. I'm like, no, but she was raped. Should she go home? And I'm like, right, no, she was just acting, right? I just believed her as the character. And I had to shut it down. So these world-class actors who doesn't matter what the platform was, they are geniuses. And so when I see them getting what they deserve, I go, oh, thank God.
thank God.
Because all
And
they
literally
have
used a beauty
is
light, like
this
in the beautiful light.
in the
Yeah.
beautiful light.
We're
Yes.
finally giving them their flowers that they deserve. Thank you,
Yeah.
Reggie. Thank you, Shola, so much for taking the time to speak to Black Girl Nerds. I really appreciate the conversation. This was an incredible film.
Thank you. And thank you for
I-
supporting Black Girl Nerds.
Yes.
Absolutely. I love the work that you guys do
Tribe.
effectively. So you guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds. Better shake your booties for Black Girl Nerds.